Welcome to the Tech for Good podcast. We are very passionate about two things, technology and our world. In each pod, we will be interviewing some fascinating people, business leaders, but those with a special interest in solving the biggest issues facing humanity today. Think the environment, think healthcare provision during a pandemic, think global social injustice. If you want to know more about technology's immense potential to fix and transform, then you're in the right place. In this episode, I speak to Daniel Di Giusto. Daniel is co-founder of Tech to the Rescue, a movement which connects technology companies with social impact organisations. Tech to the Rescue believes there are not enough technology resources in the social world. In the podcast, I ask Daniel if big tech should shoulder more responsibility. He tells me what inspired the founding of Tech to the Rescue, and he shares some extraordinary examples of its work, including its efforts in Ukraine. But first, I ask Daniel what Tech for Good means to him.
Thanks for having me, Ben. It's a pleasure for us at Tech to the Rescue. Tech for Good means using technology for creating value that can actually benefit the society environment, depending what context are we in. But these are the first things that pop out in my head when I hear Tech for Good, and obviously it's really it's really in our mission at Tech to the Rescue. So it's close to our hearts for sure.
Absolutely. Now, Daniel, as you well know, we live in an era where, technology companies are growing and, they dominate our world in some ways. Do you feel like the big tech companies of today have a certain responsibility to use their tools in a way that is going to positively impact society and the world?
I think we for some time we've had those discussions inside of our team, as our community is built of small companies, but also very recently our traction started to raise, and right now we talk to probably majority of the companies that anybody that even not related to tech industry recognizes or knows. Technology is built on an infrastructure that's uh, been developed for many years and bases on um, knowledge and the domain knowledge that, from our perspective, it's really available for many, and many times uh, this is a byproduct of many other people that built something in the past. So I wouldn't go into, is it definitely a responsibility or not. I think I would leave it to all of those organizations to decide. Uh, my personal opinion is that technology can change the world and is moving the world. And any company, any leading company that wants to really move the world in the right direction, in a positive scenario direction, should really think about how their service or their product can um, add something to the society, add something to the world. Because really taking into consideration the footprint of what we produce today, um, there is footprint that's being left after our activity. So I think the short answer is leading tech companies should, when they have values and mission that resonate with making world a better place, they should show others how this can benefit the world and how this actually benefits their organization, which will lead to having many organizations that will definitely get involved into doing good, and it will make the world a better place, I guess.
Yeah, and that moves us nicely on, Daniel, onto your company, Tech to the Rescue. Maybe tell the listeners what the idea was when you were founding this company. What was the mission?
Right. We are a nonprofit foundation. We are we were born when the pandemic hit, so it's shocking that it's been already 2 years. When we think about it, the time really flies so fast. Um, it was born as a bottom-up movement where um, some of the leading executives of companies from Central Eastern Europe, majority from Poland, decided to do something and decided to act and add something beyond money, beyond donating and fundraising for organizations that were in the frontier. They wanted also to do something that will last, something that will actually give continuous value to the society. And at first, uh, it was simply an Excel sheet, if we can call it this way. With time, when actually a global change making organization called ashoka.org joined as a strategic partner. It started to get traction and set the direction of really focusing on what can benefit the society and the nonprofit organizations the most. Me and my co-founder Jack, um, we had that imagination that um, um, we couple of times watched different TV series where either uh, on different streaming platforms you can watch stories of uh, paralegals or any law company, law firm being very successful, and every time from time to time there is this theme where they actually get into some pro bono work, and this kind of became a standard. Like any well respected law firm in the world has that division that really allows their employees to get involved into some pro bono work. And we many times had that discussion, why isn't it like this in tech? I mean, what's the difference? The tech industry is, one of the most, basically most innovative industries. And what's going on? Why isn't it working this way? So I have a background in working for tech companies. I've been building companies, creating teams in tech companies for the last 10 years. And my co-founder Jack, he used to run a small IT consultancy firm that was actually focused on building products for nonprofits. So he
Okay.
was on the edge between, nonprofit sector and tech. And when we met, we joined the initiative of Thomas, the ex CEO of Devante, who was actually the initiator of this. And we agreed that, okay, together with Ashoka, we will run this forward. We will actually take it forward. So for the last year and a half, we managed to working part-time, just the two of us, validate the hypothesis. So we were trying to understand whether there is a need for the service like ours. So we were actually operating as a startup, setting up a thesis, validating it, implementing something, testing, and or again and again, like in a regular lean process. So we managed to deliver over 50 collaborations between NGO and tech,
So,
which
mate,
from
can you talk, Daniel, a bit about those? How do those collaborations work? Like, what are you facilitating there?
yeah, so we as Tech to the Rescue are the door opener, so to say. Uh, we have a network of tech companies from all around the world, and there is also a huge list of nonprofits that come to us. And what we do is we verify them, we validate their readiness to work with a tech company. So we could call ourselves as a marketplace of nonprofit projects, but the difference is that we are not putting ourselves as as the subject of this whole thing. We are just a platform for collaboration between nonprofit and tech to happen. And this is what we do for till now. We've been matching both sides, helping tech companies to meet reliable, verified nonprofits, while on the other hand, we also helped nonprofits to actually understand what they need, translate it into the scope, and then finding the best partner, IT partner.
Great stuff, Daniel, and very noble work. Can you share some of maybe your best success stories? Which areas have you had kind of the most impact? Has it been with a particular set of tech companies, or has it been with a particular set of non-profits that you've really been able to have that impact?
When we always think about what's best, it's really hard to call something best. From our perspective, we treat our beneficiaries, as almost like our friends, and it's hard to say we prefer this over another. But I can share some of the examples where technology uh, scaled impact, and this might be interesting. So, in the last 2 years, one of the very interesting stories that we repeat over and over is uh, an organization from Nicaragua that started as a small project where women wanted to educate older women about prevention of cervical cancer, which is fully preventable. It requires just regular, treatment and checking. And Nicaragua, with all the beauty of the landscape, has also some downsides, including the approach towards women and the fact that there's a lot of taboo around women's health, and with the culture of, I don't know if I can call it macho, but it really it really kind of draws some picture where you know there was the project started basically in a way that women were coming in a bus from one village to another, and just were educating about how to prevent the cancer. And uh, what was shocking was that many times it wasn't even possible to spend uh, a certain amount of time with a specific person, because their husbands were very suspicious about what's going on, and it was very creating those boundaries where on one hand women wanted to take care about their health, on the other hand they really didn't have that space where they could take care about themselves. And then the pandemic hit, uh, which completely, um, disbalance the operations of the organization, and
Mm.
the Lily project uh, knew that they need to move online. Um, and It's actually something that stimulated their development because when they moved online and they first started with some messenger group, WhatsApp group, um, they finally find the space where women had that liberty to speak up and share their experiences, which was in a way a coincidence that actually helped this idea to strive. But at some point they saw that, you know, at first they had just 2,000 users, or let's call beneficiaries, because they were moving from the city to city, as I mentioned. And then when they moved online, um, the number of participants started to grow rapidly, and they saw that it's impossible to continue developing it through a WhatsApp group simply. And when they came to us, um, we found them a partner, uh, which uh, is located in Netherlands. But what's interesting is that the engineering team, is located in Pakistan, and the reason why they actually signed up to help with it was the fact that women in their team in Pakistan, when they found out about what the project is about, they really um, got excited because they felt like this is something that would actually not only help in Nicaragua but also in their region. So it was incredible because uh, from being local in Nicaragua, actually the match that we provided also allowed the perspective where the Lily project understood, oh my God, there is a market that's way bigger. Uh, so what they did, they started building in a solution that would allow, to create a community online to share some educational materials, and it it grew the community, allowed to the community grow from a couple thousand people to a couple and tens of thousands of people right
Mm.
now. I think it's even over 50 or 60,000 people. But it also allowed that connection between different countries, different people that were united by one story and why one challenge that they commonly wanted to solve.
Hi, I'm Daniel Brigham, editor of the Tech for Good magazine. I hope you're enjoying this pod, and if you want more, why not head over to techforgood.net for some amazing and thought-provoking stories. You can read about one company's mission to use digital technologies in the fight against HIV, or learn how social media can help refugees take control of their narratives. For those insights and more, read and subscribe at techforgood.net.
Wow, that's an amazing story, Daniel, and yeah, like I guess really shines a light on the true kind of social impact that technology can have, and the work that Tech to the Rescue does as well. Now, do you want to talk a little bit too about the recent work you've done in Ukraine as that country has had to deal with the horrors of the Russian invasion? Like, what stories have you got there?
I need to start with just saying that technology will never be the solution. It requires certain environment and different elements to to solve some challenge. But it can be a platform again, right? This is very important, in my opinion, that if the company decides to help, just providing technology solution or building something, it's not the end solution for everything. That's very important. But it can be the first step that any organization that wants to make impact on the world can join and start from as a small step. Um, if we talk about Russian invasion, um, we really like nobody wanted it. I think some people expected that it may happen. We, as Tech to the Rescue, had some intelligence, some information that came to us a week before that there is a high chance that there might be conflict escalation, uh, and maybe we should consider um, getting ready. And when we heard it, we had no other choice than just getting prepared. And we organized our freshly formed team that we hired in January uh, to basically be prepared for whatever happens. And from the day zero, we had an infrastructure and we had resources with, in our small but very passionate team that were in place. And we right away started to um, to basically highlight our results to be one of the solutions, or at least a place to go when organizations needed support and needed scaling of their operation. And we really felt it. Uh, we really felt the heaviness of the situation.
How did your company respond to that demand, that level of demand at that point?
It wasn't easy. We really felt it. We talked to over 200 organizations from Ukraine and the region, and it was extremely tough to meet that whole expectation, having very small team. But at the same time, we were really encouraged by the fact that over 1,000 freelancers signed up. So we saw that there is this, will that people really want to do something. Uh, at the same time, we had 600, over 600 companies that offered their support. Unfortunately, our model doesn't allow us to work with freelancers right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are fairly small, so it really is hard for us to organize people and manage them. That's why we work mainly, for now at least, with companies, because this is something that allows us to act quickly, and that's our unique value. But seeing how many, you know, organizations and people want to act, it really added us energy to work around the clock and be available.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you,
yeah.
Daniel, have you been able to see any of the, positive effects that the work you guys have done, the role you have played? Have you been able to see any of that in that work?
I think, yeah, I wish I can say for sure. I hope that people also saw it. We saw uh, the collaboration that started, and I can say that for now there are a couple of projects that are really generating value. So one of the things we did, which wasn't usual for us, but we decided to do that, was consolidation of different projects that were on the market. So we got into action and we started connecting initiators, the activists that started similar activities, and we just started connecting them, and so that they could collaborate and do something, do some more good, just uniting and doing something together. And I think there were over 9 similar Airbnb like platforms to provide shelter for the society fleeing Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we spent quite some time just to connect them and make sure that they are collaborating, or also with a reliable NGO partner, which in this case was Polish Humanitarian Action, which is right now one of the top leading NGOs that are working in response to the situation in Ukraine. And we found the partner. There were a couple of tech companies that joined, and they together created a platform called UASOS.org. And we already know that over 4,000, there were over 4,000 times that somebody found an apartment, which, it makes a difference, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
And full credit, Daniel, to you and to your small team as well for really rallying around and being able to make a difference there. I mean, full of admiration for that, for sure.
Thank you.
Talking again more generally about Tech to the Rescue, Daniel, it feels like you're still a very young company, obviously, but there's a thing here about community, isn't there, and building a community of technology companies, a community of nonprofits who have that common kind of purpose to use solutions for good and to try and solve some of these issues. How big do you see that becoming? I guess you kind of got you should be able to sort of envision like this becoming a lot bigger, right? And I guess the bigger it gets, the more collaboration there is, the more chance you have of really making a bigger difference.
Oh, for sure. We wanted to become a market standard, so we would love every leading tech company to become, a member and start doing good, and at least helping once a year, a specific organization that's in need. It's clear to us that the value is not just in the satisfaction of people that are doing those projects. The value is in actually in business, as we already see there's a huge shift in the expectations from employees, the different levels of employees. So the Generation Z that enters the workforce right now, and already I think stands for about 30% of consumers, or something around that. I think that's a huge power, and if we take into consideration that they're one of the biggest things that the Gen Z is, respecting, is doing something good and adding value to the society. I think if companies will not start caring about it, they will really stay behind in the race for top employees. But it doesn't only apply to the Gen Z, to the fresh people uh, into the workplace. But I think when we look at IT industry specifically, um, IT industry for many years served many people that if you would look at the Maslow's pyramid, their basic needs and were already met long ago. And at the top of that pyramid, there is, that feeling of self-fulfillment and doing something more to a higher purpose. And people working in IT industry, many cases, they seek for meaning. So top managers, top directors, creators, and influencers on companies, they really many times um, you know seek meaning and search for something more than just yet another commercial products to be sold to somebody. And I know from my experience that if your work is meaningless, you're either heading towards the burnout or you already are burnout. That's it. Like if there's no purpose, if you don't feel attached to something bigger than yourself, and your work is not bringing it, which actually stands for one third, at least one third of our life,
Mhm.
uh, it's gonna kill you, kill us in overall. Um, that's why, from our perspective, doing projects for good, building value through engagement into social activism. This is a benefit of the future, and the top workplaces are going to really be surrounded by, by the value of empathy and helping others. So I would say I really look forward to the economy of empathy, where helping others will be perceived as a real um, benefit, as an upside, and it's shifting. We already see that.
Really interesting stuff, Daniel. And have you been on a similar journey yourself as an individual as well? You mentioned earlier that you used to work in the tech industry, building solutions. Now you're obviously doing what you're doing with Tech to the Rescue. Do you feel like you as an individual, you're kind of on that journey as well, to wanting to use your skills and your contacts and your company ultimately now to have that, to have a stake in the empathy economy?
There was a time in my life when I spent a couple of years working for a tech company, which was mainly about building, products for clients, and
Hmm.
everything was really surrounded around building business, selling stuff, and the company was really really nice, but I somehow felt empty inside after working a couple of years and devoting my time, and still, you know, many times being pointed out that we have to do more, we have to do quicker, we have to, create business value. I was asking myself, if I, you know, talk to my children or their children, 20, 40 years from now, and they will ask me, hey, grandpa, why did you spend majority of your life just, working your ass off for, like, for what? What was the purpose? What did you change? I don't know. Maybe it might sound a little bit cliche, but for me, it was so deeply rooted in my values that I will leave some legacy to the, you know, future generations. And if I sit around the table with my kids someday, and their kids, I would love them to look at me and say, Grandpa, we're proud of you. Like, we know that you did what you could have done to allow us to live in the same world, or at least prevent the degradation of the world. And we really appreciate that. Like, I want to feel this. Like, I want them to look at me and be proud of me. That I'm not adding, uh, you know, and not yet another brick uh, to extermination of our humankind and the ecosystem, but rather I'm building the foundation for a sustainable development, for the future generations to come.
And I'm absolutely sure, Daniel, that your children and grandchildren will look upon you in that way. On a final point, so what does the immediate future look like for you and for Tech to the Rescue? How are you going to continue on that path to trying to make a difference?
Yes, this is very exciting time. I can already announce that as of last week, Google.org, the philanthropic division of Google, uh, donated $500,000 in a grant to help us to sustain our Tech for Ukraine campaign, which will allow us to, really focus on the marathon, the work that needs to be done, and providing value to humanitarian efforts, humanitarian aid efforts in the upcoming months. Um, and thanks to this, we will also be able to get back to the, other activities, and not only helping in one area, but doing what we as Tech to the Rescue want to do. So really creating the world where the nonprofit organizations have all the resources and technology to, scale up their impact and do massive good. So we really see this possible with such partners. But yet there's a lot to do still. We definitely are thinking about how we can do more, having a small team and now being able to grow a little bit. What's next? We think that ultimately there are many players on the market. There are small companies, there are huge organizations, like all of them have different goals, right? Similar with nonprofits, the NGOs that come to us, they have different goals. And at the moment, we know that as Tech to the Rescue, we are in the center of this puzzle. So we want to maybe one day become a hub when we would be in the middle, in between the sectors, connecting, private sector, corporations, governments, grassroots organizations, local ones, and big global NGOs, and creating some sort of a model of crisis immediate response that in any moment, if something that requires coordination of all those different parties would appear, we would be ready, knowing what to do, in what order, or at least who to connect with whom to be able to save lives and provide for people. As for now, we will continue to build our tech community and work with nonprofits that come to us, and we will keep matching them to build solutions that can scale up their impact. And we look forward to seeing what's going to happen next. The future is bright. We see that people really start to believe that there is some shift necessary. Like, we live in times when we really value scarcity, so people pay more for gold than actually they pay for empathy or happiness. So we truly believe that we are on the crossroad, actually on the edge of a huge social shift, and we want to be in the frontier, helping others to join us and do some more good.
That was the Tech for Good podcast. Listen, subscribe, and rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.